This is Kelly.
And this is Amy.
And you're listening to Diary of a Death Investigator. Sorry we skipped last week. We've had some life changes, or I've had some life changes. I got a promotion at work, and now I'm super busy. But we're going to make it up to you with this episode, one I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
We're still going to do the ABCs next week. So for Valentine's Day, Amy has a good one from her Scorned Lovers pile. And we are calling it A Game of Clue.
Yeah, I think Kelly, this is probably one of her favorites. Talked over a Fortnite game, I think, actually.
It was. I kept asking, like, is that how it happened? So we're going to be guessing this entire time of who done it, how they done it, with what they done it.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger for you. Because it sure was for me. You're like, what? Well, if it wasn't that, then what?
I'm going to be laughing. I'm already going to apologize early because I know that people are going to think that I'm not sensitive to this. If you've been listening for a while now, you know, like, we're laughing because the situation's funny, not because of the circumstances.
Sometimes people put themselves in really dumb situations and you're just kind of like, well, it's kind of your own fault. Like the dumb situation, right? And I'm kind of a bitter Betty this Valentine's Day, so Scorned Lover is like perfect for me. So I'm just like, yes, let's get this going.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so really the time of year that this was, it was cold. It was around December, and luckily this was inside, but this was when I was still working in-house. So that just means I was working in office. So I got to work on this scene with some of my favorite detectives in this area. When they called me, they weren't really sure exactly what the story was at the time, because it's one of those, when you get the call, it's like the story keeps changing. And a lot of times it changes as you like work the scene. And obviously it did a couple times as I was there. So this guy, he's middle-aged. When I get there, you walk into the doorway and, well, bam, there he is right on the floor. And he is naked as the day he is born.
I wish you would have saved that for the end, because I'll tell you guys what Amy said as she described this the first time to me. I'll let you finish.
And it's kind of like everything is in disarray in this house. You step into the doorway and that's the first thing you see. And you're like, okay. And then you just keep looking around. It's just a lot to take in. It's kind of overwhelming. You're just like, where do I even start with this? Where do you even set your bag so you're like not in the crime scene, which everything's a crime scene at this point? And so you're just like, I'm just going to set my bag outside of the doorway.
I do have a question. Was it a house? Because for some reason, I'm envisioning it as an apartment.
It is an apartment, actually.
Oh!
Nice. Good call. And it's a downstairs apartment, and it's like one of those you like walk up to and like the doors face each other, and like there's a balcony right above that doorway. I just put my bag outside of the doorway, and it's a messy one. I'll just leave it that way. So I just put my glove box right next to my bag so I don't have to keep reaching in, and put some extra gloves in my pocket. And put my camera on so I can just start with my pictures, going around, taking all my pictures. And CSI has pretty much taken all of their scene pictures, and they're just kind of waiting for me so they can start taking pictures of the body. So yeah, like I said, he's naked and he is prone. So that just means he's lying on his stomach. When you get closer to him, you see this lamp with the cord wrapped around his neck.
Like a big lamp or like a table lamp?
It's a table lamp. Obviously, the shade is off of it. Surprisingly, though, the bulb is intact after all of this carnage. So that's impressive. Whatever light bulb brand that is, that's a good one. So
should have taken a picture of that.
Well, there are pictures. They're just somewhere not available to me anymore. That's the first thing that I see. So we're taking pictures of the cord around his neck. Obviously, that's considered a ligature. And so we're having to rule out strangulation because you're like, oh, well, clearly it's strangulation. But I'll tell you why it's not here in a second, or one of the reasons why it's not. When you're taking pictures of this, it's really important to match up the cord with the striation marks around the neck. And really at this point, it makes what we call like an artifact in the skin. So it's had a long enough time to leave like an indentation. So that's what like an artifact is in the skin from the cord. So we want to make sure like that matches up. So like it wasn't something that was like staged afterwards. We do that. And then we also have to be very careful how we handle that because CSI will then take that cord with them and try to get fingerprints off of that cord.
So do they take the whole lamp at this point?
Mm-hmm. Because there's probably also fingerprints on the lamp as well, just the whole thing. And so they'll take the entire thing, including the cord. And there's probably also fibers on that as well. And so part of that was also in like his hand too, because you could tell that he was trying to like release that.
Oh.
The first thing was this lamp and this cord. And it was like an older lamp, you know, like the ones that like mom and dad have that's like kind of like yellow, like that gold kind of color, like old school lamps. You know what I'm talking about?
Mom's going to be mortified that you called it like an old school lamp. But yes.
But that's like the only way I can describe it. 'Cause I don't think they make lamps like that anymore.
I don't know. I have a Harry Potter lamp and I have a Jaguar lamp. Mine are very non-traditional lamps. Maybe a more traditional would be a better.
Sorry, Mom. A traditional lamp probably made from like the 90s.
They're making a comeback. 90s is making a comeback.
Okay, well, this was before the 2020s. I seriously doubt that it was from this era. I'm trying not to make it sound bad.
Vintage.
Yes, there you go. Being a thrifter.
Vintage. Okay.
Maybe his mom gave it to him. I don't know. Or maybe it was something that he had growing up. There you go. So, yes, we had the cord around the neck. Of course, we also looked at, did he have petechia in his eyes? And was there Tardos spots? You know, classic things that we see from strangulation, classic things that we've talked about in other cases where we see like hangings. We have to look at the eyes and the skin, basically from like neck up or like the chest. And so that's just lack of oxygen to the brain. So from there, though, we've collected that. We did see in his hands when we were removing the lamp, there were some hairs in his hand and they were not his hair color. I think they were blonde hairs and they were short. We're like, oh, that's interesting because his hands were bloody. Blood is really sticky when it dries and it's kind of like a glue. So obviously he was trying to defend himself. And typically when people are defending themselves, you know, they're trying to grab like someone's hair or, I mean, really anything that you're trying to do to like push someone away. A lot of times you see defensive wounds on like the arms, like forearms and like hands, back of hands. And so you see like people getting like hairs and stuff stuck underneath like the fingernails in the hands. So there was actually quite a bit of like hair stuck in his hands that were like bloody. And so like he had like sticky, bloody hands. So we did collect that on scene for CSI because we really didn't want to lose that during the transportation process, even though we bagged the hands on homicides. The next thing that we saw, which I was like, this is a really weird pattern that I've never seen before, were these dots on his back that were like in pairs right next to each other. It's almost like this giant tarantula or something like just bit him like over and over and over. And I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm like asking the CSIs, I'm like, have you guys ever seen this pattern? And they're like, no. And they're like red spots. I mean, obviously it's trauma.
Are they bloody spots?
They weren't bloody because they didn't actually penetrate through the skin. Like it was like a blunt object. whatever they were using was too blunt to like go through the skin, but it was enough to like scrape the skin to where it caused like an abrasion. I'm like, what the heck did this? And so we're just like documenting this with measurements and like taking pictures. I'm like, we need more room. And so I'm pushing the couch back and we move the rug, and literally under the rug is a pair of scissors. So we take the scissors and we hold the scissors to the marks on the back, and it's like the scissors match up perfectly. And it's like the scissors being shut, which I'm like, what idiot tried to force these through someone's back? Stabbing someone is so hard. Like, it takes a lot of rage to stab someone, but also like a blunt object like scissors, to do that with them closed. First of all, if you were really going to stab someone with scissors, you're better off breaking them in half and trying to just use one. Just for those of you that ever decide to do this, I'm just telling you.
I pictured a couple of pairs of scissors. So when you originally told me this, that's what made me laugh. Because when you're talking about, I mean, I have multiple pairs of scissors, but there could be like hair cutting scissors, right? They're the pointy ones at the end. So they would only leave like, I guess, one puncture wound around it. But still, to not puncture the skin, I'm actually pretty impressed. They must have been very dull scissors.
They're too blunt. They look like crafting scissors.
Crayola ones that the kids use.
They were big. I would say like 6 to 8 inches long, but they're not meant to be weapons. Now, if you were to do this, you would need like hair cutting scissors or like the kitchen block scissors, okay? Like sharp ones.
That's usually what you see in the movies.
Yeah, not like your crafty scissors, ones made for paper. And definitely not in the back, because you have your ribs in the back, and between all your ribs, you have cartilage. First of all, the spaces in between your ribs are really small, and cartilage is really hard to get through. So you're not really going to get
very far.
No, clearly you can't even get through the skin with those. They tried really hard, though. I mean, this was all over this guy's back.
Was he like a big guy?
No.
That's what's so funny to me. I picture him as like this really big, tough guy. Because right now, we've had 2 different attempts.
Hey, you know, the smaller ones, though, are really wily. Little, small, wily country boys, they can fight. Because usually they have a lot of siblings or something. And the smallest ones get picked on, so they have to learn how to, like, wrestle.
Because they're scrappy.
Yes, and they get picked on in school. They're always getting, like, in fights. So that's what I've learned becoming a teacher. They gotta stick up for themselves. He fought hard, but it was not the scissors that did him in. When we finally roll him over, we see that he's stabbed.
But not with scissors.
No, with a real knife. They finally got a real weapon from the kitchen block, which the knife was actually found in the kitchen afterwards. I think the order of things might have been scissors, strangulation. He might have passed out from the strangulation, and they were probably like tired, and they're like, okay, I just got to get something that's just going to get this job done, because I'm going to like wear myself out. So I just got to like kill him for real. I get the knife and then finish him off. I think it was in his neck.
Oh.
Yeah. So the knife was in the kitchen.
The person put the knife back in the kitchen after they were done stabbing him?
Yeah, you got to wash your hands before you leave. Duh. You're not going to walk out of a place all bloody. Come on, Kelly.
I mean, okay, but apartment complex, right? So, like, what time of day was this?
Let's see. They believe that this incident actually happened the night prior at like 11 o'clock at night was when things were happening. But like I've said before, people mind their business.
Oh, yeah, you did.
So no one actually called this in until the girlfriend called the police for a welfare check the next day at like 7 or I don't know, earlier that day. Oh no, it was like 2 the next day.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, because that's how long the CSI took to process the scene, because clearly there was a lot for them to do.
So what did he actually end up dying of?
It would be the exsanguination of blood.
So there was a lot of rage. Somebody's heart was filled with rage.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't tell you what happened. So when they interviewed neighbors noticed, air quotes, which how could you not hear a struggle?
The struggle was real with this one.
He fought real hard. That there was an altercation between a couple. They didn't specify what couple was fighting. Like I said, around 11 o'clock the night before. And so the girlfriend said she hadn't talked to him for like 2 days. So yeah, she called for a welfare check. So rumor had it that he had a boyfriend.
Oh.
Rumor had it.
So wait, the girlfriend called to do the wellness check, but the girlfriend wasn't the boyfriend. So he had a girlfriend and he had a boyfriend?
Well, that's what I was told.
He was an equal opportunist.
Hey, love is love.
He was having his cake and eating it too. Okay, wait. But did they catch him?
I don't know, man. After a certain point in time, it's not my job anymore.
Okay, so that's my job. We'll see if they caught him. You suspect then that it was the boyfriend or the guy that was over the night before then?
Yeah. Well, originally when I got there, they're like, well, we don't know if this is a drug deal gone bad. And I was like, really? Have you found any drugs in here? I was like, normally drug deals gone bad. They're just like, bang, bang, you're dead. I was like, this is a lot of aggression.
It was a lot of... Someone was really angry.
To not only strangle, but get a pair of scissors and then a knife. They were really mad.
I gotta find out. I'm writing down who done it.
I have another case that is similar to something like this that I was like, whoa, this is a lot of blood.
Their heart was filled with rage in that one too.
Yeah, I would say so.
Wait, did you find any alcohol at the scene?
Not that I can remember, because I've had some homes where I'm like, whoa, clear-cut alcoholic.
Well, I wasn't thinking about alcohol. I was just thinking like sometimes you start drinking, then you have like a deep conversation or what you feel is a deep conversation. Could be a shallow conversation. Arguments start.
I can't remember. Now, this has been like 6 years ago.
All right. Well, now I need to look at who done it. But when Amy started telling me the story originally, I think we were discussing about how hard it is to like stab somebody. Because the movies make it look easy. All the slasher movies are just like, oh, just stab them and it goes through. But you said it's very difficult to actually stab somebody.
It is.
So you were talking about like how somebody had attempted to stab them. And then you're saying then it was the strangulation.
Yeah.
I kept going, oh, so he died from that. And you're like, oh, no, he didn't die from that. And then you're like, the strangulation part. And I was like, oh, so he died from the lamp. And you're like, oh, no, he didn't die from the lamp. It was funny. But the best part was Amy just said, because she told you guys all early what he was naked. But she didn't tell me that. And then she's like, oh, well, he was naked.
Yeah. Like, oh, for shame of him. He's probably like, I just don't want to die naked, you know? I probably one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's fear. Well, maybe not everyone's fear.
Once you're dead, it doesn't matter. Because, I mean, we're going to pull your clothes off you anyways. And we're all going to see your naked bits anyways.
You did a toxicology report on him, right?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember. We do a toxicology kit every single time. And, of course, homicides, we do evidence. It's the full thing for homicide. But I don't remember. Like I said, this was 6 years ago. I mean, you know how many homicides sometimes we'd work in a day? Like 6. And sometimes you're having to work back and forth on multiple. But this was just memorable because of the scene and the multiple causes of death.
So you're welcome, everybody. For those celebrating Valentine's Day or for those that are bitter like Amy who just want the day to go by without any evidence of Valentine's Day, this one's for you. So if you guys have any questions for Amy, you can email us at kelly@diaryofadeathinvestigator.com or you can message us on our Instagram page, Diary of a Death Investigator. If there's any other cases that you would like to hear that Amy has. We're definitely taking recommendations. Sometimes we need inspiration.
Oh, I've got plenty of that. But
until next time.
bye.